Story 1. Procrastination and avoidance. I think it is how I cope with stress, which I know just makes it worse. Edit. If you are about to reply with same, consider that I have about 50 child comments with exactly that already. Story 2. Laziness. I'm the laziest person I know, by a long shot, passing through university as slightly below average because I'm too lazy to study more than that. I have a good freelance job in game development, but I'm too lazy to get the most out of it. I've been thinking for months about making a game that I have an idea for. I want to do so much, but I do so little. Story 3. Well, I have a few. Really socially awkward and lacking in social skills. If my parents let me, I admit I would play games too much. My resting face is stoic and often comes off as unfriendly. Story 4. My social anxiety has led me to avoid things that I shouldn't have avoided. Sometimes I still say things or do things that I didn't think enough about and later end up regretting. I have bad posture. Story 5. Procrastinating. My boyfriend gets upset sometimes because I am such a workaholic, and I let it dictate my life. I also have a very, very bad habit of inserting myself in people's conversations. It is not always a bad thing, especially at a place like work where it is a communal area, and they are just talking for whoever wants to hear it, but sometimes I stick my nose right in there very abruptly. I always realize it as soon as I do it, but can never catch myself before. Story 6. I really struggle to give a single fuck. People will yell at me, hit me, make fun of me, compliment me, it doesn't matter. The chances of me caring are about zero. It makes keeping friendships very hard, but no matter how hard I try, I just don't care. Story 7. I'm not positive. I have to actually train myself to see the positive things happening in my life, or I just focus on one bad thing that happened in my day, and suddenly the whole day was bad. I do so by writing every day in a diary about what was positive. Also, I'm kind of clingy to people I really like. I don't really like sharing them or being second, even worse when in love. Story 8. That I sound really defensive and angry, and my thoughts get really jumbled up when I am riled up or supposed to debate. It irks me so much because when my mouth opens, it's just incoherent and angry sounding, and it's an automatic lose situation. Story 9. I don't know when to throw in the towel. If someone says something I really disagree with, I want an argument. I know I should walk away because I won't change their mind anyway, but I don't. Story 10. Deep lying distrust of about everyone I know, because I have been burned too many times. Procrastination. Generally pessimistic and nihilistic view of the world. Story 11. I procrastinate frequently. I'm standoffish, quiet, and very reserved to the point I don't really talk. I'm stubborn and very particular about the things I like and want to do. I can come off as insensitive or rude because the tone I say things in isn't always delivered in a nice or sensitive manner. I have an awful habit of embracing my freedom of choice and basically saying if I don't like something, I'm not going to do it. For better and for worse, I follow this strictly. This leads to being a person hard to compromise with, and it plays into my reluctance to do many things that I know I don't like for the sake of others. I'm also a workaholic, and I'm very staunch and definite in my values. I'm boring, I'm uptight, I'm uncompromising, and I take myself too seriously. I'm a fun killer, I don't have fun. I'm not a guy who you can joke with, and I'm not a great friend at all. I don't drink or do any drugs, and I'm not really able to hang out, relate, or be around people who do those things. I'm a very stiff person and can come off as arrogant or holier than thou, as much as I try to just be me. Story 12. I don't ask for help even though I know I need it. I fight with myself, thinking I might figure something out, but in the end, I finally give in and ask. And people always help with open arms. Story 13. Almost non-existent social skills, general anxiety at times, lack of discipline, unable to finish a project before starting a new one, ugliness, short attention span, unable to commit to projects, being overweight, laziness, selfishness, unable to properly communicate, annoying behavior, unable to read social signs, easily annoyed at times, lack of skills, trying to act funny to get attention, very little personality, overambitious. Story 14. Smiling is a defense mechanism for me. I smile and laugh so that people will not ask me what is wrong. I also try to make other people smile and laugh to make myself feel better. Story 15. I get major self-loathing induced anxiety that I'm not good enough for my girlfriend. Even though she proves every day how much she loves and accepts me, I do a really good job of keeping it hidden most of the time, but it's still ever present. It happens when I feel like my friends are pulling away from me too. I hate it. Story 16. I dislike being alone most of the time, so in relationships, I tend to be clingy or attached at the hip. I also know I have no sense of money, which really sucks when trying to save during relationships. Story 17. When under pressure, I can be impatient and curt. When I am deep in thought, I look angry. I think this makes me look arrogant and unkind. It's a work in progress. Story 18. I don't go outside and expect women to come to me. Sometimes they do, and I would still rather play video games and go to bed early. I am very set in my routine of work, lift, dinner, video games, and bed. Story 19. I've noticed recently that I have a habit of making the subject of conversation about myself. Whenever people are talking in a group chat, I have a tendency to dominate the discussion by sharing similar stories from my life or times I've experienced whatever we're talking about. Since noticing this, I've been trying to cut down on it, but I tend to get caught up in the moment and not realize. Story 21. Anger issues, but I'm good about not showing it in front of people. I quickly get myself isolated before letting out any anger. I don't trust people at all. I have little to no sense of humor. I like my humor, but it doesn't really entertain everyone else. My friends often take humor too far with me, and I get upset with them. Story 21. I'm just a humble person with a big attitude. Okay, I'm not all that humble. Seriously, I deal with just about everything with humor, even though it's usually not appropriate. And that's a quote from The Wire. Great show if you haven't seen it. Story 22. I am unable to commit to things, to the point that sometimes I delay making a decision in order to avoid being bound by it, even if I already know what I want. Story 23. I am very bipolar after getting to know people. Either thinking that the person is amazing and I can't spend enough time with them, or I don't care about how your week was. It makes group dynamics weird. Story 24. Low self-esteem. I still think I'm a person who managed to go this far in life by pure luck. I'm a relatively cold person. I warm up when I get to know you, but at first approach, I can seem very cold. I'm trying to work on it, though. I am not good at confrontations. Story 25. Scared of confrontation, too sensitive, stubborn, often inappropriately quiet, not friendly, and have trust issues with everyone. These are all defense mechanisms. I developed the first two quite recently. Story 26. I think I am smarter than everyone else deep down. Logically, I know I am not, and that realistically I am like in the 80th percentile of intelligence, so I do not go around making claims like they do on the subreddit I am very smart. But inside, I cannot escape the feeling that everyone else is not intelligent, and that I will never truly trust advice or orders from authority. That is partially my abusive upbringing, I guess. Story 27. Procrastination, which feeds the constant clutter in my house. Dating and relationship issues such as commitment fears and avoidant attachment style. Story 28. I get completely overwhelmed with too many options, to the point where I end up doing something I've done before 100 times, even though I know it isn't the right choice anyway. If I just get going on a project, before I know it, I'm grinding it out. However, the stage where I have to choose the right project tends to derail everything. Story 29. I am often the crying shoulder and person people go to first when they need advice. Then there is me. I bottle up all my emotions and often do not take the advice I give to others despite knowing it was or would be the right call. Story 30. I am aggressive and angry and impatient. A taste for sweets and alcohol is not a healthy combination, especially in the long run. Undisciplined, I could think of any number of flaws, any number of which I simply don't have a solution to. Story 31. I am in my own head way too much. I worry all the time about hypothetical situations that probably won't happen and focus way too much energy on things I did or said in the past that I can't change anyway. I also have very low self-esteem, depression, and anxiety, which is the source of most of my problems, I think. Story 32. I have this complex where I kind of narcissistically think I'm better than everyone else, but at the same time, I don't want to admit that I do. So publicly, I just say I am bad at everything and am such a terrible person. Story 33. I have terrible social skills. If I do not speak to you for a year, it is not that I do not like having you in my life. I just got busy with things and forgot about socializing. Story 34. Being a bit stubborn sometimes in some cases. I have a hard time saying what I truly want to express into reality, me being socially awkward, procrastination, not speaking up too much about something. Story 35. I don't know how to properly deal with my emotions. If I'm really upset, I get drunk or have to have some type of high to avoid how I feel. I also think I'm more susceptible to developing an addiction. Story 36. I always feel like I should be doing something, working, exercising, planning, etc. I'm only 20 and not in college, though contrary to what others have told me about this. When I do start working and build a consistent routine, the feeling goes away. It's only a flaw when I am relaxing for long periods of time. Story 37. I don't really care, so I don't ask questions, which means I am not good at getting to know people. For example, I've got a cousin I meet a couple of times per year. He's in his late 40s, and he moved from the city I live in to the fancy part of Copenhagen with his architect wife. To this day, I still have no clue what he does for a living, and I only know what his wife does because my sister randomly mentioned it to my mother. Story 38. Self-doubt and general unworthiness, imposter syndrome, procrastination, minor lack of impulse control, general misanthropy but still individualized empathy, bad memory. It's hard for me to get out of my own head, inability to maintain focus for extended periods of time. Story 39. I just silently put up with getting my feelings hurt and my boundaries crossed. It happens again and again until I randomly decide I've had enough, and then I ghost people. One solution would be to clearly communicate when I feel hurt. I find that it works sometimes, but many other times it does not. I don't feel a need to try to communicate when the intended outcome manifests only about 15% of the time. I don't get angry, I don't get sad. Months or years later, I might feel sad about it. But if someone asks, I do state the situation as I see it. On Reddit, I also swing like a pendulum between I am a frequent poster and I am a reasonably intelligent man who enjoys contributing to his fan communities. But I'm not sure if this is a problem or, if so, how to fix it. At least I can be honest about it. Post history is open and anyone can read it. I'm no avoider or manipulator. Story 40. I hold myself to extremely high standards and rarely give myself a break. It is good sometimes. I have a great career, am healthy and stronger than I have ever been, and take amazing care of myself now, but other times it just leads me to being brutal with myself. I am constantly being praised and complimented by others, but I do not know if I will ever be good enough for myself. Story 41. Where to start? I procrastinate a lot. I'm introverted, so it can be difficult to make friends. I gravitate toward type A personalities and people who make up for this. I let work affect me way too much. When I feel I'm being treated incorrectly, it really messes with my head and negatively affects the other parts of my life. I'm trying to fix this. Story 42. I procrastinate to the point I would rather clean my whole house than study for a final exam. I get jealous of my significant other way too easily, and I am a massive hypocrite in every other way. Story 43. I have problems with overthinking, and from that comes mild insecurity. For example, I say something, then I'm immediately thinking whether people will find it funny, care, or not. Obviously, nothing bad ever happens like I expect. Feels bad. Story 44. I have really bad imposter syndrome. No matter how hard I work and how much success I have, I always sell myself short. I was taught not to be proud and brag, but at the same time, I need to be more proud of my accomplishments. It is something I am working on. Story 45. Inconsistency. I will get excited about something, learn everything I can about it for a few days, and then stop following through with it. Or I will pick up a new hobby for a few days or weeks and then drop it. Story 46. Quick to anger and quick to calm down. Easy to exaggerate situations. Lazy. If I don't want to do something, I won't do it. I have dropped 3 courses because of this. High anxiety and obsessive compulsive. Emotional shopper, for example, I buy things to feel better. Terrible self-control. Story 47. I really like being contrary to people because I often can argue the other side well enough so that I'm right. This then makes me feel good because the other person has to recognize that I'm smarter than they are. Story 48. I am a narcissist, borderline psychopath, and fight every day to try and function like a normal person. I can't even put my feelings into words half the time. I'm impulsive. I made all of the most important decisions of my life on what amounts to a coin flip in my brain. I'm a hypocrite and almost never practice what I preach. I'm selfish, and even when I claim to care, it's only because it will benefit me. There are more, but I'm bumming myself out already. Story 49. Extreme overthinking. If my friend says something as a joke, I will remember it for the rest of the day, and I will try to analyze any deeper meanings behind it. Stuff like not responding immediately to texts also has me acting all paranoid. I know this type of thing is bad, but I cannot help it. Story 50. Not being able to commit to something. Throughout my entire life, I've always just gotten above average at things and then ended up stopping. The good news is I'm really working to change that this year. Story 51. I'm stuck in an old trauma cycle that has ended. I'm a man of good intentions, but by no means one of action. I have an eating disorder that I'm trying to take on by myself. It's the easiest thing to deal with, but even easier to fall off the wagon. I surround myself with friends that are less than classy, and I'm currently stuck in a lease with them. I couldn't afford to live on my own, so it doesn't really matter. I keep seeking out relationships and hookups, but I know at a surface level I don't need a partner. I need a therapist. I'm super timid, and I let life happen to me rather than being a leader. I struggle to stand up for myself, but I'm still miles ahead of where I was even 2 years ago.